Thank you.
Because basically this guy was, at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you, like, there was always something. So the first element was, oh yeah, but you will not find the right guy. And then, oh yeah, but nobody will want to cover you as an accounting firm. We are a startup, we can't do it. And then the legal firm, yeah, no, it's not going to work. And then for the bond funding, it was, oh, but no, but you're never going to raise money. And then I came back to him and said, look, I've raised 140 million now. And he said, well, look, now it's the equity that will be a problem. And then nobody, we decided to stop it. But I should have done it much earlier. It doesn't matter, it was a lesson learned. But Dan was spot on all over the process.
And when we go to private equity, hopefully later, not sooner, they're going to look at the board and say, we don't need him, we don't need him, we don't need him. Out. And the board members know that. They're hoping that they'll keep you and throw him out. But at the end of the day, he who has the cash, the gold makes the golden rule. So, I mean, as soon as you bring in equity player, the equity structure will change based on what they want, because they're putting up the hard cash. The banks rarely make you restructure the ownership because it's debt, as they say in Europe, debt. But the equity players will ask you, or not ask you, they'll tell you to restructure it. And but he hasn't done that. And some of the board members may get tossed, or not may, will get tossed by an equity player. And that's just the way the game is. You may get tossed by the equity player because you don't add any value. That's why I tell you, oh God, you want to do it commercially. Now he's dealing in a high EBITDA buying environment. He's not buying shit for 3 to 5 times earnings, because though that environment has been bid up, priced up by those big companies that he talked about, 300 sites, 80 sites, they've bid up the prices. So the prices are higher. Margins are still good, but the prices are higher. So, I mean, if you can buy something that's 7 or 8 times EBITDA in that industry, they go all the way up to paying 9 or 10 times EBITDA. But then the spread, the arbitrage that exists on the market is 15, 18, 20, 25 times EBITDA. So there's a bigger arbitrage, bigger spread from the time from privately held to publicly held. And and whereas he described a guy that he hates the kid, that's funny. He hates the kids. He hates the teachers. He hates the government intervention. And so when he told me, does the guy like anything about the business? No. He's a motivated seller. But he doesn't want to believe in the pie in the sky. He wants all his cash. He wants his Jewish coupons now. And I don't know if you could read the questions up there, and I didn't answer them, from the guys out there, the U's of the last 3 or 4 seminars. They're, the CFAs, the Certified Financial Analysts, which are 3 up on there, ask the same kind of questions. Instead of just pulling the trigger, the Big 4 accounting firm that he said that I fired. But now some accounting firms, some legal firms will do this. Okay, we know that you've got a great asset to sell. Okay, we know Goomba over here is in the business 30 years. And now he's going to some fucking seminar and he's trying to build out his platform. Okay. We know that. Okay. Okay, very good. Now, you're not our client and he engages us. Okay. So we use the fact that he's engaged us to find assets and to do his big accounting work And we use that, we bring it to you, and I said, what if we can find you a buyer? Now, we represent him, not you. And as soon as this came up, I said, they don't know from shit from these guys. And everybody wants to think that you're dealing with professionals. You think, and a bunch of weeks went by and pissing and moaning. And then a few of the other board members got him on the phone, the Big Four accounting firm. And it was obvious to these professionals, the guys that have been in the business a long time, that this guy, he was just leading us along. When push came to shove, he couldn't perform. And they then said that he was no longer representing us. And it took everybody else 5-6 more weeks than it took me. It took me about 100 millionth of a microsecond. And just, now, some of the other people had existing relationships or past relationships with the big company, so they wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. I understand all that. But, we pissed 4 or 5 weeks down a rat hole. And time's money, guys. Time is money. All the rest is, you can get money back, but you can't get time back. And that's more and more apparent to me. I always was in a rush, but now as I've gotten older, we're running out of runway. Now, the young kids, as I told some of you young kids, everybody's going to tell you don't be in such a hurry because you got, forget, that's bullshit. Only poor people tell you that. You don't have the rest of your fucking life. You're going to wind up fucking like them, poor and old. Or poor and middle-aged. And that's why I tell my kids, be in a fucking hurry. Of course, that doesn't bode well when, young kids are pushing old gits to get things done. And young kids aren't used to pushing the old gits. They're just, because that's not how you were raised. And depending on the culture you came out of, it's even more foreign to you. Certain Asian cultures, maturity, gray hair, wrinkles are considered things that you revere, honor. Well, that's great, but it's not for getting this shit done in a hurry. That doesn't bode well. But he's doing well, and he's been able to multitask. The one thing that you can't do is when you get a deal on the boil, you can't just you want to stay focused, you want to keep pushing, but you can't let everything else turn cold. Because then if that dies, then you got to come back and resurrect it's like heating up a bitch in a bar. You spend all the time with a slut over here, and she decides not to go home with you. Then you got to go resurrect. Metaphorically, in theory, of course, you do, metaphorically. I myself have never heated up a bitch in a bar. I'm looking for the lightning to come down and strike me through the ceiling. Yeah. Any other questions about Greg? Yes, sir.
So when he goes to a board member and he's trying to tell them, look, I'll give you some equity for being a board member, how does he retract that then if he gets rid of them? Or you know what I mean? So people say, well, I want 3%. So the
guy that he got rid of, I think, was a 3%er.
Right. So what happens with that?
Okay. Well, because what you say is, he agrees to be on the board, and you tell him it's going to be between 3 and 5% or 1 and 3%, depending on your activity. And of course, they say they're going to be active, and then they say how many hours, what's the commitment, and you say 2 to 4 hours a month, which I think what he told them, and then he couldn't come. He couldn't come to the meeting, and then we can't do this, we can't. So the first 3 things he asked him, he didn't think were possible. As soon as he couldn't come to the meeting, that was it. I didn't need to get him a no for those 3 things. I knew right away. And whereas 2 or 3 of the other guys have been to all the meetings and have gone to the meetings, and the guy that's the CFO of one of the big, FTSE 50 companies that has been going to meetings with him, and that holds not just for the reasons that Daniel and I have been talking about. When the CFO of a FTSE 50 company recently retired, is coming to the meetings, it's because he believes in the deal. He's done his due diligence, adds instant credibility. And then when he calls one of the big four to be the accountants or whoever it was, who I think he called the lawyer, this thing is built. You build this on a foundation of cement, tarmac, rock, and every layer after that is sturdy. If you build it on wishy-washy, then the first time somebody falls off, then everybody starts to question. But no shares have been issued, and he just said, it's fine. I understand. Now the irony is, I have another kid who didn't know about this, called him and interviewed to be his chairman. So now he calls him in, the same guy that got fired, and they're sitting down there and they're talking, and he says, is this a QLA or a Peña? He just said it's a Peña deal. And he says, yes, it is. And he says, he didn't say it was tossed off, but he said that I left a previous deal. And my kid said, oh, well then fine, thank you for your time, I got up and left. Because the second kid knew if he got tossed off, there must be a red flag. He didn't care what the fucking red flag was. He knew it was a red flag. And he knew I'd give him a fucking beating, for taking the guy. And now, Craig has his own office. He's gone and got an office. That's his comfort zone. That's not his house that he was in. That's an office. Because, and it's got a conference room, etc. And so that's his experience. Most of the kids, as you've already seen, don't do it that way. They do it. It's got to work for you. It's where you feel that or know that you're the most effective. Okay, YouTube. Adios. To learn more about this video and all my videos, you lazy cunts, click on this link below. Or you can go to my website, danpeña.com, and see all the fucking free material from the $50 billion man.